Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the blood-soaked sandals of a Roman spectator, trading our modern Netflix binges for the original reality TV gladiatorial combat at the Colosseum. We're talking about 50 zealous and screaming Romans, overpriced wine, and the subtle art of cheering while people get creatively murdered for your entertainment. So go ahead and hit that like button, but only if you're genuinely ready to embrace your inner Roman sociopath. Drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, and whether you think you could handle a day at history's most violent theme park. Now settle in, maybe grab some wine watered down naturally. We're being historically accurate here, and let's dive into what it was really like to spend 8 hours watching people die for sport, while pretending it built character. So, you think you'd enjoy being a Roman spectator? Adorable. Like thinking a medieval plague outbreak sounds like a fun weekend getaway. You wake up before dawn, not because you want to, but because your neighbor Gaius has been hammering on your door like he's announcing the end of the world. The games, he shouts through the wood. The emperor's putting on games today. You roll over, hoping he'll go away. But Gaius has the persistence of a tax collector and the volume of a battlefield horn. Today is the day you've been waiting for, or dreading, depending on how you feel about watching people get turned into human confetti for entertainment. The Colosseum doesn't just happen to you. You have to earn your way in, literally. If you're a citizen, congratulations, you get free admission to watch people die creatively. If you're not, well, hope you saved up because a day at the amphitheater costs more than most people see in a month. But let's assume you're lucky enough to have citizenship, which in Rome means you've either been born into it, bought it, or survived long enough for someone to gift it to you out of pity. You stumble out of your insulae, the Roman equivalent of a tenement building, which is basically a vertical slum held together by prayer and lead pipes that are slowly poisoning everyone inside. The streets are already packed. Not with eager spectators, mind you, but with the usual Roman mourning crowd slaves carrying amphoras of wine that cost more than a house, merchants screaming about their revolutionary new fish sauce, and the occasional senator being carried in a litter by men who look like they're contemplating dropping him in the nearest sewer. The walk to the Colosseum is an experience in itself. Rome's streets weren't designed by anyone with a functioning brain. They're narrow, winding, and covered in a delightful mixture of mud, animal droppings, and whatever the guy in the apartment above you decided to dump out his window this morning. The smell hits you like a physical object. It's a symphony of unwashed bodies, rotting vegetables, and the distinct aroma of a city that hasn't figured out proper sanitation, but has perfected the art of pretending it doesn't matter. You're not alone in this journey. Thousands of Romans are making the same trek, all heading toward the massive stone beast that dominates the landscape like a sleeping giant with anger management issues. The Colosseum looms ahead, 4 stories of travertine limestone and tuff, with arches that seem to go on forever. It's beautiful in the way a sword is beautiful, engineered for a purpose that's both magnificent and terrifying. But first, you have to get in, and getting into the Colosseum is like being processed through the world's most violent bureaucracy. There are 80 entrances, numbered with Roman numerals that most people can't read, which means half the crowd is wandering around like lost sheep looking for the right gate. The Romans, being Romans, have organized this chaos with typical efficiency and cruelty. Your ticket isn't actually a ticket. It's a pottery shard called a tessera, handed out by officials who look like they'd rather be anywhere else. The tessera tells you which entrance to use, which section you're allowed in, and basically serves as a reminder of exactly how important or unimportant you are in the grand scheme of Roman society. If you're a senator, you get entrance I, right near the arena floor, where you can practically smell the fierce sweat of the gladiators. If you're a regular citizen, you get something in the middle. If you're poor but still technically Roman, you're climbing to the top tier where the seats are so far from the action you need divine intervention to see what's happening. The crowd bottlenecks at the entrances like wine trying to flow through a drinking straw. Everyone's pushing, shoving, and cursing in Latin, Greek, and languages you're pretty sure aren't spoken by anyone civilized. Romans don't queue politely. They surge forward like a human tide, And if you're not aggressive enough to hold your place, you'll find yourself swept backward by people who treat crowd navigation like a contact sport. The guards at the entrance aren't there to help you. They're there to make sure you don't bring in weapons, food, or anything else that might interfere with the carefully orchestrated mayhem about to unfold inside. They pat you down with the enthusiasm of men who found the same hidden knife 17 times this morning. Weapons aren't allowed because the last thing the Emperor wants is a crowd revolt in the middle of his entertainment spectacular. Food isn't allowed because the vendors inside have paid good money for the monopoly on overpriced snacks. Once you're through the entrance, you face the vomitoria, which sounds disgusting, but is actually just the Roman name for the exit tunnels. The architects, in a rare moment of practicality, designed these passages to empty the entire Colosseum in minutes if necessary. They called them vomitoria because they spew forth people, which tells you everything you need to know about Roman poetry and their relationship with bodily functions. Climbing to your seat is a workout nobody asked for. The Colosseum holds 50,000 people, and every single one of them is trying to get somewhere else at the same time. The stairs are steep, narrow, and designed by someone who apparently believed that spectators should earn their entertainment through cardiovascular suffering. By the time you reach your section, you're breathing like you've run from goal, and the games haven't even started yet. Your seat, if you can call it that, is a stone ledge carved into the amphitheater wall. No cushions, no back support, no consideration for human comfort whatsoever. The Romans built the Colosseum to last forever, not to be comfortable. You're basically sitting on architectural spite. The wealthy brought their own cushions and portable seats, because apparently being rich in Rome meant never having to accept discomfort as an inevitable part of existence. The social hierarchy is immediately obvious. Down at floor level, senators in their purple, striped togas occupy marble seats with actual cushions and servants to fan them with peacock feathers. Above them, the equestrian class, Rome's version of wealthy businessmen, sit in slightly less comfortable but still respectable seating. The middle tier is packed with ordinary citizens, tradesmen, and soldiers on leave, all squeezed together like sardines in increasingly hostile proximity. Up in the highest tier, the women sit separately from the men, because Roman society believed that females couldn't handle the excitement of violence without proper supervision. Also up there, freed slaves, foreigners with enough money to buy tickets, and anyone else who wasn't quite Roman enough for better seating. The view from up there is so distant that the gladiators look like ants with weapons. But at least it's cooler because you're closer to the canvas awning system that provides some relief from the sun. The awning system, called the velarium, is an engineering marvel operated by sailors from the Roman Navy. Because apparently when you're not conquering barbarians on the high seas, you're working as theatre ushers in a giant death arena. These sailors manage a complex system of ropes, pulleys, and canvas sections that can cover the entire seating area, protecting spectators from sun and rain while leaving the arena floor exposed to the elements. Because comfort for the audience is important, but gladiators need to suffer properly. While you're settling in and trying to find a position that doesn't immediately result in permanent spinal damage, the arena is already buzzing with pre-show activity. Slaves are raking the sand smooth and sprinkling it with sawdust, which sounds pleasant until you realize the sawdust is there to absorb blood and make cleanup easier after someone gets turned into human salad. The sand itself isn't just decorative, it's imported from Egypt because Roman audiences demanded premium surfaces for their premium violence. Vendors are circulating through the crowd, hawking snacks and souvenirs with the aggressive enthusiasm of modern stadium concession workers. They're selling everything from roasted nuts and honey cakes to small clay figurines of famous gladiators. The prices are astronomical because you're a captive audience in the truest sense. Want a cup of watered wine to get through the day? That'll cost you a week's wages. Hungry for some bread and olives? Hope you brought a lone shark. The noise is incredible. 50,000 people talking, arguing, placing bets, and catching up on gossip creates a sound like the world's largest beehive having a nervous breakdown. Romans don't do quiet, they do volume. Every conversation is conducted at the level modern people reserve for stadium chanting. Add to this the sounds of preparation below. Animals roaring in the underground chambers, machinery creaking as elevators are tested, and the occasional scream of someone getting a preview of what's to come. The betting is intense and immediate. Romans will bet on anything that moves, and several things that don't. Which gladiator will win, how long the fight will last, whether the condemned criminal will beg for mercy, how many exotic animals will be killed before lunch, and whether the emperor will give a thumbs up or thumbs down to a defeated fighter. Professional bookmakers work the crowd like stockbrokers in togas, shouting odds and collecting wagers with mathematical precision. Pickpockets work the crowd too, because Romans invented crime as thoroughly as they invented everything else. They target distracted spectators, drunk citizens, and anyone foolish enough to display wealth in a crowd of 50,000 strangers. The Colosseum is a pickpocket's paradise. Everyone's attention is focused elsewhere. Pockets are full of betting money, and escape routes are numerous. Getting robbed at the games is so common, it's practically part of the experience. The social dynamics are fascinating and horrible. Senators use the games to network, discussing politics and business deals while people die for their amusement. Ordinary citizens use the event to feel superior to the condemned criminals and foreign prisoners being executed in creative ways. Everyone uses the games to demonstrate their Roman-ness, their toughness, their ability to watch suffering without flinching. Not cheering enthusiastically enough for the violence marks you as soft, foreign, or suspiciously Christian. The games themselves follow a strict schedule, like a festival of death with proper time management. The morning features the venations, wild animal hunts where professional hunters called venators face off against lions, tigers, bears, elephants, and other exotic creatures imported from across the empire specifically to die dramatically in front of an audience. These aren't fair fights. The animals are often starved, drugged, or injured beforehand to ensure the humans win, because Roman audiences want spectacle, not uncertainty. The animal presentations are elaborate theatrical productions. Elaborate sets are constructed in the arena using the sophisticated elevator and pulley system hidden beneath the floor. Forests spring up overnight, complete with trees, rocks, and hiding places. Artificial lakes are flooded into the arena for naval battles and aquatic hunts. The engineering required to transform the Colosseum into different environments would be impressive if it weren't being used to create more creative ways to kill things. Exotic animals represent the reach of Roman power. Lions from Africa, tigers from India, bears from Germany, crocodiles from Egypt all serve as living symbols of conquest. When a venator kills a lion, the audience sees Rome's dominance over the natural world and the barbarian lands where such creatures roam wild. It's political theatre disguised as entertainment, and everyone understands the subtext, even if they don't consciously think about it. The condemned criminals face the animals during the midday executions called the damnatio ad bestias. These aren't fights. They're public executions designed to be as gruesome and theatrical as possible. The criminals, often Christians, political prisoners, or people who committed crimes against the state, are tied to posts or forced into the arena with no weapons and no hope. The animals, trained specifically for this purpose, kill them while the crowd cheers. Some executions recreate famous mythological deaths. A criminal might be dressed as Prometheus and chained to a rock while an eagle tears at his liver. Another might play Orpheus, given a lyre and expected to charm the wild beasts, only to be torn apart when the music fails to work its magic. These mythological executions satisfy the Roman love of education through violence, turning literature into blood sport. The crowd's reactions vary depending on social class and personal temperament. Senators maintain stoic dignity, applauding politely and discussing the technical aspects of the kills like wine critics evaluating a vintage. Ordinary citizens cheer more enthusiastically, especially when a particularly hated type of criminal meets a gruesome end. The upper tiers explode with bloodthirsty enthusiasm, screaming encouragement and advice to the hunters and jeering at the condemned. Children attend these events with their parents, because Romans believe that exposure to violence builds character and teaches important lessons about power, justice, and the consequences of defying Rome. Boys as young as 10 sit in the crowd, watching people die and learning what it means to be Roman. Girls attend too, though they're expected to show more restraint in their reactions because feminine delicacy is admired even in the context of mass slaughter. The afternoon brings the main event, gladiatorial combat. This is what everyone really came to see. The gladiators enter through the grand entrance, marching in formation while the crowd goes absolutely insane. These aren't just random criminals forced to fight, though some are. Many gladiators are professionals, trained athletes who chose this life for the money, fame, and chance at freedom. They're the rock stars of Roman society, beloved by fans and pursued by admirers despite being technically slaves. Gladiators are divided into different types, each with specialized weapons and fighting styles. The Murmillo fights with a short sword and large shield, wearing a helmet that looks like a fish. The Ricciarius uses a trident and net, dressed like a fisherman trying to catch his opponent. The Thrax carries a curved sword and small shield, representing Thracian warriors. Each type has strengths and weaknesses, and the matchups are carefully planned to create exciting, relatively even contests. The pre-fight ceremonies are elaborate. Gladiators salute the emperor's box with the famous phrase, Ave Imperator, Morituri to Salutant. Hail Emperor, those who are about to die salute you. Though this phrase is mostly used for special occasions and condemned criminals, not regular gladiator matches. Professional gladiators are expensive investments, and killing them off in every fight would be economically stupid. The referee, called a summarudis, oversees the combat with a long staff, ensuring the fighters follow the rules and the match provides proper entertainment. Yes, there are rules in gladiatorial combat, because even ritual violence needs structure. Fighters can't attack a fallen opponent, can't fight dirty beyond acceptable limits, and must demonstrate courage and skill, rather than just trying to survive. The crowd participates actively in the matches, cheering for their favorites and influencing the outcome through sheer volume. Popular gladiators develop fan clubs that attend their matches wearing their colors and chanting their names. Women especially love gladiators, and rumors constantly circulate about affairs between gladiators and noble ladies. The gladiator Celadus was described in graffiti as the sigh of the girls, which tells you everything about Roman celebrity culture. When a gladiator is wounded and can't continue fighting, he can appeal for mercy by raising his finger. The crowd then decides his fate through cheering or jeering, though the final decision belongs to the person sponsoring the games, usually the emperor. The thumbs up or thumbs down gesture is real, though historians debate whether thumbs up meant life or death. Either way, the sponsor's decision is final, and the crowd's opinion is just advisory. A defeated gladiator who receives mercy lives to fight another day, but one who's condemned faces death with expected dignity. He kneels, grasps the winner's thigh, and waits for the killing blow, usually a sword thrust to the heart. The crowd expects this death to be faced bravely, and gladiators who beg or try to flee are despised. Even in death, there are standards to maintain. Successful gladiators can earn enormous sums of money, enough to buy their freedom and retire wealthy. Some choose to continue fighting even after earning their freedom, because the fame and money are too good to give up. Others become trainers, teaching new gladiators the skills that kept them alive. A few even become celebrities outside the arena, endorsing products and making public appearances. The weapons and armor used in gladiatorial combat are works of art, decorated with intricate designs and crafted by master smiths. A gladiator's equipment represents significant investment by the ludus, the gladiator school that owns and trains him. Losing a gladiator means losing thousands of denarii in training, equipment, and future earnings. This is why gladiatorial combats, despite popular belief, rarely end in death. It's just bad business. Between the major events, there are intermissions filled with various entertainments. Acrobats perform death-defying stunts, though given the context, death-defying has a different meaning in the Colosseum. Musicians play martial music to keep the crowd energized. Comedic performers do satirical skits mocking barbarians, Christians, or whatever group needs public ridicule that day. The halftime shows often feature elaborate mechanical spectacles. The arena floor opens to reveal sophisticated elevator systems that lift entire sets, animals, or performers into view. Water systems can flood the arena for naval battles called nomachia, complete with miniature ships and naval combat. The engineering required for these transformations is staggering, managed by teams of skilled technicians working in the underground hypogeum. The hypogeum, the underground level beneath the arena floor, is a maze of corridors, cells, elevators, and chambers that makes the spectacle above possible. Animals are housed in cages, gladiators wait in preparation rooms, and complex machinery operates the lifts and trapdoors that allow for dramatic entrances and scene changes. Hundreds of workers labor in this underground world, invisible to the audience but essential to the show. Naval battles in the flooded arena feature actual ships, though scaled down to fit the space. The combatants are usually condemned criminals or prisoners of war, fighting with real weapons on real ships until one side is destroyed. These battles recreate famous historical naval engagements, allowing the audience to relive Rome's greatest victories while watching people die in historically accurate ways. The crowd's bloodlust varies throughout the day. Morning animal hunts get moderate enthusiasm, midday executions generate sadistic pleasure, but the gladiatorial combats create genuine excitement and emotional investment. People have favorite gladiators they follow from match to match, learning their fighting styles and celebrating their victories. It's sports fandom combined with potential death, which makes every match intensely dramatic. Food and drink flow constantly throughout the day. Vendors sell everything from simple bread and cheese to elaborate delicacies for wealthy spectators who want to dine while watching people die. The quality and price of food vary dramatically depending on where you're seated. Senators enjoy multi-course meals served by personal slaves, while the upper tiers get stale bread and questionable wine. The drinking contributes to the crowd's enthusiasm and occasional violence. Romans aren't quiet drinkers, and combining alcohol with blood sport and tribal loyalty creates explosive situations. Fights break out in the stands between supporters of different gladiators, arguments over bets turn physical, and regional rivalries explode into brawls that require intervention by the guards. The guards throughout the Colosseum aren't just for show. They're there to maintain order among 50,000 excited, often drunk, sometimes violent spectators. Riots can start over a controversial referee decision, a perceived slight to a popular gladiator, or simple regional prejudice between Romans from different areas. The guards carry weapons and aren't hesitant to use them to maintain peace. The emperor's presence, when he attends, changes the entire atmosphere. His box is a masterpiece of marble and purple fabric, elevated to emphasize his divine status. When he enters, the entire crowd rises and cheers, because not cheering enthusiastically enough can be interpreted as treason. His reactions to the events influence the crowd's responses, and his decisions about life and death are final. Imperial attendance turns the games into political theatre. The emperor uses his appearances to demonstrate generosity, wisdom, and power. He might free a gladiator who fought bravely, pardon a condemned criminal who showed courage, or order extra entertainment for the crowd's pleasure. These gestures are calculated to increase his popularity and demonstrate his benevolent authority. The crowd's relationship with the emperor is complex. They cheer him enthusiastically, but also feel entitled to entertainment and spectacle. If the games are disappointing, the crowd's displeasure is obvious and potentially dangerous. Emperors who fail to provide adequate entertainment risk losing popular support, which in Rome can quickly become a life-threatening situation. Religious elements permeate the games, though not in ways modern people would recognize as spiritual. The events begin with sacrifices to the gods, asking for their blessing on the day's entertainment. Gladiators pray to their patron deities before matches. The deaths of criminals are seen as justice blessed by the gods, and the courage of gladiators reflects divine favor. Christians in the crowd face a moral dilemma. Their religion forbids enjoying the suffering of others, but refusing to attend or show enthusiasm marks them as different and potentially dangerous. Some Christians attend but pray silently for the souls of the dying. Others refuse to come and accept the social consequences. A few attend and cheer along, telling themselves that the condemned deserve their fate. The games also serve as a massive job creation program for Rome. Thousands of people work in various capacities to make the spectacles possible. Animal trappers and transporters bring exotic beasts from across the empire. Weaponsmiths craft specialized gladiator equipment. Trainers work in gladiatorial schools. Construction workers maintain the Colosseum itself. Vendors guards bookmakers, and entertainers all make their living from the games. The economics of the games are staggering. A single day's entertainment can cost more than most Romans see in a lifetime. The animals alone represent enormous expense capturing, transporting, and maintaining lions, elephants, and other exotic creatures requires international networks of suppliers and specialists. The financial commitment shows how important the games are to Roman political and social life. Gladiatorial schools operate like sports academies, with professional trainers, medical staff, nutritionists, and managers. Promising fighters receive excellent training, medical care, and living conditions because they represent significant investments. The best gladiators live better than many free Romans, though they remain slaves who can be killed for entertainment. The medical care available to gladiators is surprisingly sophisticated. Roman physicians study gladiatorial injuries to advance their understanding of anatomy and treatment. Gladiator schools employ skilled doctors who can treat combat wounds, set broken bones, and maintain fighters in peak condition. Some medical advances made in treating gladiators benefit the broader Roman population. The retirement of successful gladiators is a major public event. When a beloved fighter earns his freedom, the ceremony is elaborate and emotional. The crowds that cheered for his victories now celebrate his survival and freedom. Some retired gladiators become celebrities, opening schools or making appearances. Others disappear into quiet private life, having earned enough money to live comfortably. The social impact of gladiatorial games extends far beyond the Colosseum. Children play gladiator games in the streets, imitating their heroes with wooden swords. Adults discuss matches the way modern people talk about sports. Gladiator merchandise, from oil lamps decorated with fighter images to jewelry inspired by gladiatorial gear, fills Roman shops. Women's fascination with gladiators creates its own subculture. Gladiator sweat is sold as an aphrodisiac. Noble ladies allegedly have affairs with famous fighters. Some women even train as gladiatrices, female gladiators, though this practice is controversial and eventually banned as unseemly for Roman women. The training regimen for gladiators is intensive and scientific. Different fighter types require different skills, weapons training, physical conditioning, and tactical knowledge. Trainers study their students' natural abilities and match them to appropriate fighting styles. The best gladiators are tactical artists as much as physical specimens. Regional preferences influence gladiatorial matchups and crowd reactions. Romans prefer different fighting styles and have prejudices against certain types of gladiators based on their ethnic origins. Gallic fighters are considered brave but reckless. German gladiators are seen as strong but slow. These stereotypes influence betting odds and crowd support. The retirement ceremonies for the entire gladiatorial games are as elaborate as the opening. The surviving gladiators march out in formation. The dead are honored with speeches about their courage, and the crowd disperses gradually, discussing the day's highlights and planning for future games. The Colosseum empties through the vomitoria in a surprisingly orderly fashion, despite the day's excitement. Leaving the Colosseum after a full day of games is like emerging from a fever dream. Your eyes hurt from the sun and the spectacle, your throat is raw from cheering, and your body aches from sitting on stone for 8 hours. The emotional intensity of watching people fight and die for entertainment leaves you drained and strangely exhilarated. You've participated in something uniquely Roman, something that defines civilization as Romans understand it. The walk home through Rome's streets feels different after a day at the games. The city seems more manageable, more civilized, more secure after witnessing the alternative. You've seen what happens to people who challenge Roman authority, who live outside Roman law, who lack Roman citizenship. The games serve as both entertainment and education, teaching lessons about power, belonging, and the consequences of being on the wrong side of history. The social bonding that occurs during the games creates lasting relationships. You've cheered alongside strangers, shared food and wine, argued about gladiators and betting odds. These shared experiences create connections that extend beyond the Colosseum. Romans meet future business partners, marriage prospects, and lifelong friends at the games. The nightmares that sometimes follow attendance at particularly brutal games are rarely discussed, but commonly experienced. Watching people die violently, even when you know it's coming, even when you cheer for it, leaves psychological marks. Some Romans develop a taste for increasingly extreme violence, requiring more and more brutality to achieve the same excitement. Others find themselves troubled by dreams of the defeated gladiators and executed criminals. The morning after the games, Rome buzzes with discussion and analysis. Who fought bravely? Who died well? Which gladiators showed promise? What the emperor's reactions meant for future events? These conversations happen in shops, baths, homes, and taverns throughout the city. The games provide common reference points for Romans across social classes. Children who attended their first games are forever changed by the experience. They've seen death up close, witnessed courage under extreme pressure, and learned what it means to hold power over life and death. Some are traumatized by the violence. Others become enthusiastic fans, but none remain unchanged by the experience of watching people die for entertainment. The economic ripple effects of a major gladiatorial event last for days. Vendors count their profits, bookmakers settle bets, and the broader Roman economy benefits from the circulation of money. Hotels, restaurants, and shops all see increased business from visitors who came to Rome specifically for the games. The Colosseum serves as an economic engine, as well as an entertainment venue. The political implications of the games extend far beyond the day's events. Emperors who sponsor successful games increase their popularity and strengthen their position. Those who provide inadequate entertainment or show poor judgment in their life and death decisions face criticism that can undermine their authority. The games serve as a form of political communication between rulers and ruled. The cultural export of gladiatorial games spreads Roman values throughout the empire. Cities across Roman territory build their own amphitheaters and stage their own games, spreading the Roman model of entertainment and social control. Local populations learn what it means to be Roman partly through participation in these violent spectacles. The religious implications of the games are complex and sometimes contradictory. While officially honoring the gods, the spectacles also celebrate human power over life and death in ways that challenge traditional religious boundaries. Some Romans see the games as divinely approved, others as necessary evils, and a growing Christian minority as fundamentally immoral. The architectural legacy of the Colosseum influences building design throughout the empire and beyond. The engineering solutions developed for the games, from the complex underground systems to the retractable roof, advance Roman construction techniques. Future amphitheaters incorporate lessons learned from the Colosseum's successes and failures. The psychological impact of regular attendance at violent spectacles shapes Roman character in ways that participants themselves rarely examine. The casual acceptance of violence as entertainment, the enjoyment of others' suffering, and the treatment of human life as disposable for amusement create a society where brutality becomes normalized and expected. The international implications of the games extend Roman influence far beyond the borders of the empire. Foreign dignitaries who attend gladiatorial events return home with stories of Roman power, organization, and ruthlessness. The games serve as both diplomatic entertainment and intimidation, demonstrating what Rome is capable of doing to its enemies. The technological innovations required for increasingly elaborate games drive advances in engineering, hydraulics, and mechanics. The complex systems needed to flood the arena, lift animals and sets from underground chambers, and coordinate the movements of hundreds of performers require sophisticated technical knowledge that benefits Roman society beyond the context of entertainment. The literary and artistic inspiration provided by gladiatorial games influences Roman culture for generations. Poets write epics about famous gladiators, sculptors create statues of beloved fighters, and painters decorate wealthy homes with scenes from the arena. The games become a source of cultural imagery that defines Roman artistic expression. The medical knowledge gained from treating gladiatorial injuries advances Roman healthcare significantly. Physicians who work with gladiators develop new surgical techniques, better understanding of anatomy, and improved treatments for trauma. This knowledge eventually benefits all Romans, making the games an indirect contributor to public health. The social mobility offered by gladiatorial success, while limited and dangerous, provides one of the few paths for slaves and condemned criminals to achieve wealth and freedom. Some gladiators become wealthy enough to buy not only their own freedom, but also that of family members, creating small dynasties based on success in the arena. The training methods developed in gladiatorial schools influence military tactics and individual combat techniques throughout the Roman army. Successful gladiators sometimes become military trainers, and gladiatorial techniques are adapted for battlefield use. The games serve as a laboratory for combat innovation. The crowd control techniques developed for managing 50,000 spectators advance Roman understanding of mass psychology and public safety. The methods used to move large crowds safely, prevent riots, and maintain order during emotionally charged events benefit Roman administration of other public gatherings and civic events. The international trade networks required to supply exotic animals and materials for the games create economic relationships that benefit Roman commerce generally. The routes and contacts developed to bring lions from Africa or silk from China for gladiatorial spectacles serve broader Roman economic interests. The scheduling and organization of gladiatorial events demonstrate Roman administrative efficiency and planning capabilities. Coordinating the complex logistics of major games requires skills that transfer to military campaigns, public works projects, and imperial administration generally. As the sun sets on your day at the Colosseum, you join the thousands of other spectators making their way back into the city, carrying with you the memories of what you've witnessed, the excitement of the spectacle, and the complex emotions that come from spending a day watching people live and die for your entertainment. You are Roman, and this is what being Roman means. The power to command life and death, the sophisticated cruelty that defines civilization, and the understanding that your entertainment comes at the cost of others' suffering. The games will continue, the Colosseum will host new spectacles, and you will likely return to watch fresh gladiators fight for their lives and freedom. Because once you've experienced the raw power of holding 50,000 people in collective excitement, once you've felt the electric atmosphere of life and death decisions made for entertainment, once you've participated in the most Roman of all activities, everything else feels somehow smaller, less intense, less worthy of your attention. You are a spectator at the Roman Colosseum, and you have seen empire transformed into entertainment, death turned into art, and civilization defined by its capacity for beautiful cruelty. The experience will stay with you forever, shaping how you see power, violence, and what it means to be human in a world where humanity is a privilege that can be revoked by popular vote. The memories of the day fragment into vivid snapshots that will resurface unexpectedly for years to come. The sound of a gladiator's final breath echoing through the arena. The sight of sand darkening with blood under the afternoon sun. The taste of wine mixed with the metallic tang of fear and excitement in the air. The feeling of being part of something larger than yourself, something that defines the very essence of Roman civilization. Tomorrow, the slaves will rake the sand clean, wash the blood from the stones, and repair any damage from the day's festivities. The bodies will be dragged away through the gate of death, the Porta Libertinensis, named after the goddess of funerals. The surviving gladiators will return to their schools for medical treatment, rest, and preparation for future contests. The animals that survived the morning hunts will be returned to their cages beneath the arena floor, awaiting their turn in future spectacles. But for now, as you navigate the darkening streets of Rome with thousands of other satisfied spectators, you carry within you the unique intoxication of having witnessed ultimate human drama played out for your personal entertainment. You have seen courage and cowardice, skill and desperation, life and death, all choreographed for your pleasure and edification. You have participated in the great Roman experiment of turning survival into art, violence into culture, and death into meaning. The conversations flowing around you, as the crowd disperses, capture the full spectrum of Roman reaction to the day's events. Senators discuss the political implications of the emperor's decisions with their peers. Merchants calculate the profits they made from selling refreshments to the bloodthirsty masses. Soldiers compare the gladiatorial techniques they witnessed to their own military training. Children reenact their favorite moments with wooden swords and boundless enthusiasm. Your own reflection on the day's events reveals the complex psychology of the Roman spectator. Part of you is horrified by the casual brutality you've witnessed and enjoyed. Another part is exhilarated by the raw intensity of life and death drama played out before your eyes. Still another part is proud to belong to a civilization powerful enough to command such spectacles, sophisticated enough to organize them efficiently, and wealthy enough to stage them regularly. The walk home takes you through neighborhoods that reflect the full spectrum of Roman society. Past the insulae where the urban poor live stacked like cordwood in buildings that regularly collapse or burn down, through the commercial districts where shops and taverns stay open late to serve the post-games crowd. Near the palatial homes of the wealthy, where tonight's dinner conversations will dissect every moment of the day's entertainment with the analytical precision of military strategists. The street vendors who couldn't afford admission to the games call out questions about the results, eager for details about gladiator performances and unexpected outcomes. The news of the day's events will spread through Rome's gossip networks faster than official announcements, carried by slaves, freedmen, and citizens who witnessed the spectacles firsthand. By morning, everyone in the city will know which gladiators triumphed, which criminals died bravely, and what the emperor's reactions revealed about his character and policies. The brothels near the Colosseum do exceptional business on game nights, filled with men whose excitement from the day's violence seeks other outlets. The gladiator-themed establishments are particularly popular, offering encounters with women who dress as different fighter types and reenact arena scenarios in more intimate settings. The connection between violence and sexual excitement is one that Romans understand instinctively, though they rarely examine it directly. The bathhouses also see increased traffic after major games, as spectators seek to cleanse themselves of the day's dust, sweat, and emotional residue. The conversations in the tepidarium and caldarium continue the day's discussions, with naked Romans debating gladiatorial techniques and imperial politics with equal passion. The baths serve as informal social clubs where the day's experiences are processed, analyzed, and transformed into lasting memories. The religious implications of your participation in the games will be debated in temples and private homes throughout the evening. Some Romans see the contests as sacred rituals that honor the gods and demonstrate divine justice through combat. Others view them as necessary civic duties that strengthen social bonds and imperial loyalty. A growing minority questions whether entertainment, based on human suffering, can ever be morally justified, regardless of its social and political benefits. The dreams that follow attendance at particularly memorable games often blur the line between participant and spectator. Romans frequently dream of fighting in the arena themselves, experiencing both the terror and exhilaration of mortal combat. These dreams sometimes inspire young men to seek gladiatorial training, convinced that they possess the courage and skill to succeed where others have failed. More often, they serve as psychological processing of the intense emotions generated by witnessing others fight for their lives. The economic impact of the games extends into the evening and beyond. Tavern keepers serve special commemorative drinks named after successful gladiators. Merchants sell miniature weapons and armor as souvenirs. Artists begin work on paintings and sculptures inspired by the day's most dramatic moments. The entire Roman economy benefits from the circulation of money and excitement generated by major gladiatorial events. The social hierarchies reinforced by the games continue to influence Roman behavior long after the crowds disperse. Citizens who sat in the upper tiers defer to those who enjoyed better seating. Slaves who witnessed their masters' reactions to the violence adjust their behavior accordingly. Children internalize lessons about power, belonging, and the consequences of defying Roman authority. The games serve as ongoing education in what it means to be Roman and what happens to those who challenge Roman supremacy. The international visitors who attended the games return to their home provinces with stories that will influence local attitudes toward Rome for generations. Foreign merchants describe Roman power and spectacle to their trading partners. Diplomatic representatives report to their rulers on Roman capabilities and character. Barbarian hostages witness firsthand the civilization they're expected to emulate or the power they're expected to fear. The gladiators themselves, both survivors and casualties, become part of Roman cultural memory in ways that extend far beyond the arena. Successful fighters achieve a form of immortality through popular acclaim and artistic representation. Even the defeated are remembered if they died with particular courage or style. Their stories join the vast collection of Roman narratives about heroism, sacrifice, and the proper way to face death. The medical professionals who treated gladiatorial injuries during and after the games continue their work through the night, applying lessons learned from countless previous contests. Their understanding of human anatomy, trauma treatment, and surgical technique advances with each major event. Some of the medical innovations pioneered in gladiatorial medicine will eventually benefit all Romans, from soldiers wounded in battle to civilians injured in accidents. The cleanup crews work through the night to prepare the Colosseum for future events. The complex underground systems require constant maintenance to ensure smooth operation of elevators, trapdoors, and water systems. The seating areas must be swept clean of debris left by 50,000 spectators. The arena floor needs fresh sand and sawdust to absorb tomorrow's blood. The cages housing surviving animals require cleaning, feeding, and security checks. The administrative machinery that made the day's spectacles possible continues operating long after the crowds depart. Financial records must be compiled, documenting expenditures for animals, gladiators, equipment, and facilities. Personnel schedules need adjustment for upcoming events. Supply chains require coordination to ensure adequate provisions for future games. The bureaucracy that supports Roman entertainment operates with the same efficiency and complexity as the imperial government itself. The cultural critics and philosophers who attended the games begin composing their analyses of what the spectacles reveal about Roman character and civilization. Some celebrate the games as the highest expression of Roman values: courage, discipline, acceptance of hierarchy, and appreciation for skilled performance under pressure. Others question whether a society that derives entertainment from human suffering can claim moral superiority over the barbarians it conquers and civilizes. The Christian community faces particular challenges in processing their attendance at or absence from the games. Those who attended struggle with the contradiction between their religious beliefs and their participation in spectacles they consider morally objectionable. Those who refuse to attend face social consequences that can affect their business relationships, political prospects, and personal safety. The games force Christians to confront the practical difficulties of maintaining religious principles in a society built on values they fundamentally oppose. As you finally reach your home and prepare for sleep, the day's experiences begin their transformation into permanent memory. The specific details will fade over time, but the emotional impact of witnessing ultimate human drama will remain vivid for years to come. You have participated in one of Rome's defining institutions, an event that encapsulates everything that makes Roman civilization both magnificent and terrifying. The sounds of the city gradually quiet as Rome settles into evening routines, disrupted by the day's excitement. The conversations about gladiatorial performances and imperial decisions continue in private homes, taverns, and gathering places throughout the city. The economic, social, and political implications of the day's events will ripple through Roman society for weeks to come, influencing everything from marriage negotiations to military recruitment to religious observance. Your own understanding of what it means to be Roman has been deepened and complicated by the day's experiences. You have seen the power that comes with citizenship, the responsibilities that accompany privilege, and the brutal realities that underlie civilized life. You have participated in collective decision, making about life and death, witnessed the consequences of courage and cowardice, and experienced the intoxication of belonging to a society powerful enough to command such spectacles for its entertainment. The games have reminded you why Rome rules the world and why other peoples submit to Roman authority rather than face Roman wrath. The organization, efficiency, and casual brutality displayed in the Colosseum demonstrate capabilities that extend far beyond entertainment. The same administrative skills that coordinate gladiatorial spectacles manage legions across 3 continents. The same engineering expertise that floods the arena for naval battles builds roads, aqueducts, and fortifications throughout the empire. The same financial resources that purchase exotic animals and professional gladiators fund military campaigns and public works projects that secure Roman dominance. Sleep, when it finally comes, brings dreams that blend the day's memories with deeper psychological processing of what you've witnessed. The faces of gladiators, the roars of animals, the cheers of crowds, and the decisions of emperors mixed together in the subconscious theatre of Roman sleep. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and responsibilities, but tonight belongs to the gladiators and the games, to the spectacle and the spectators, to the eternal Roman drama of power expressed through perfectly organized violence. You are Roman, and you have spent a day being Roman in the most complete and complex sense possible. You have witnessed empire made manifest in entertainment, civilization expressed through controlled brutality, and humanity defined by its capacity to transform survival into art. The experience has confirmed your place in the greatest society the world has ever known, while revealing the price that greatness demands from those who enjoy its benefits and those who pay its costs.